Okay, welcome guys. This is section 15.6, rational equations. Okay, so let me start with the definition of rational equations. Rational equations are all equations with one or more fractions. Okay, so example 1 over x plus 1 over 3 it's equal 5 over 6 is rational equation. Or we can have something more advanced, 6 over t squared minus 7t plus 12 plus 2t over t minus 3 equal 3t over t minus 4 are rational equations. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to solve those type of equations. So let me write down the steps. Steps for solving rational equations. So first one, it's factor the denominators of all rational expressions. Identify the restricted values. Number two, identify the least common divisor of all expressions. In the equation. Okay. Step number three will be multiply both sides of the equation by the LCD Step 4, solve the resulting equation. 5, check your solution. So we're going to apply those steps. We're going to start slowly, and we will start solving easier equation, then we will start working on the more advanced. So example 1. Solve equations okay, containing fractions. And we have t over 5 minus t over 4 equal to, okay? So rational equations. So step 1 was factor denominator and of all rational expressions. Okay, and step 2 was identify LCD. So I will move quickly. Okay, let's just do step 1. So factor all the denominators. So factor 5. So 5, it's the same as 1 times 5. And factor 4, which is the second denominator. So 4 is the same as 2 to the second power. Again, this is 1 times 5. So when we factor denominators, we're going to identify LCD. So step 2 is find least common divisor of 5 and 4. So LCD of 5 and 4 is 1 times 5 times 2 to a second power, since all those factors of 5 and 4, they're not repeating. So we're just listing all of them and we multiply all of them together. So the LCD will be 40. Okay, 5 times 4, I'm sorry, the LCD will be 20. Okay, so when we find the LCD, which is 20, now I'm going to move to step 3. So step 3, multiply both sides of the equation by LCD. So multiply all by 20. So I'm taking that 20 and I multiply it the left side of the equation, which is t over 5 minus t over 4 equal, and I'm taking that 20 and I multiply the right side of the equation, which was 2, so 20 times 2. Okay. Step 4 is solve the equation. So now we're going to solve it. So when you're going to solve it, remember that you have to distribute 20 to both. So we will end up with 20 times t over 5 plus 20 times negative t over 4. It's equal 20 times 2, which is 40. So let's simplify that. So number multiplied by fraction means you multiply numerator by that number. So we have 20t over 5 plus 20 times negative t, that will give you negative 20t over 4, it's equal 40. So now let's simplify. 20 divided by 5, we're getting 4t plus 20, negative 20 divided by 4 will give you negative 5t equal 40. So we're going to simplify. 4t plus negative 5t, we're getting negative t, it's equal 40, and just divide all by negative 1. So we're getting t, it's equal negative 40. So this is the answer. And step 5 is check your solution. Check. So t, we end up with t equal negative 40. So I'm going back to original problem, which was t over 5 minus t over 4 equal to, and I'm just going to substitute t with negative 40. So we have negative 40 over 5 minus negative 40 over 4 equal to. So we're getting negative 40 over 5, which is negative 8, minus negative 10, and we're checking if that will be equal to. So you want to check if your solution is correct. We got negative 8 plus 10. Definitely it's equal to. So 2 is equal to, which means we solved that problem correctly. So that was the first problem of solving rational equation, and I show you how to apply all those 5 steps. So let's continue working. So that was example 1. Let's call it A. Let's solve B. So we're going to solve B. For B, we have 3 over 4 plus 5 plus A over A equal 1/2. So step 1, factor denominators. Okay, so 4 is the same as 2 to a second power. A is the same as 1 times A. Step 2, find least common divisor of 4 and A. So LCD will be equal 2 to the second power times 1 times A, which is 4A. That's the LCD. Step 3, multiply all by LCD, which is 4A. So left side of the equation, 4A times, and I copy the left side of the equation, which is right here, 3 over 4 plus 5 plus A over A equal 4A times the right side of original equation, which is 1/2. Step 4, solve for A. So what you need to do, you guys need to remember that you have to distribute 4A to both fractions. So we're having 4A times 3 over 4 plus 4A times 5 plus A over A equal 4A times 1/2. So again, when you have a whole number, you multiply by fractions, so you multiply numerator by that whole number. So that will be 4A times 1 over 2. So here I want to focus that when your numerator's expression, always put that expression in parentheses. So let's simplify. 4A times 3 over 4 is the same as 4A times 3 over 4 plus, here we have 4A times 5 plus A over A equal 4A times 1, which is 4A over 2. Simplify, so here look what happened. You have multiplication, so 4 and 4 cancel. We end up with A times 3, which is 3A, plus, here it's a multiplication, so you can cancel A, and we end up with 4 times 5 plus A, and 4 divided by 2 will give you 2, so you end up with 2A. Next, we're going to distribute 4 to both. So we're having 3A plus 4 times 5, which is 20, plus 4A equal 2 times A. So we're having 7A plus 20 equal 2A. Let's subtract 2A from both sides. We'll end up with 5A plus 20 equals 0. subtract 20 from both sides. We're getting 5a equal negative 20. Divide each by 5. And we're getting that a is equal negative 4. So this is our solution. Okay, step 5. I will leave step 5 for you. Check. A equal negative 4. So just plugging in into original solution and check if you end up with correct statement, which I will leave that for you. So check at home. Okay, I'm pretty sure it's correct. You can check it. Let's do example C. We have x over x plus 1 minus 2. It's equal negative 1 over x plus 1. Okay. So rational equation. So step 1, factor denominators. So our denominators are the same, which is x plus 1. So we only have x plus 1. So x plus 1 is just x plus 1, or you can think about 1 times x plus 1. Okay. Step 2, find LCD. So LCD of x plus 1 is just x plus 1. Step 3, multiply both sides by LCD, least common divisor, which is x plus 1. Okay, so we're having x plus 1 times the left side of our equation, which is x over x plus 1 minus 2. Like you see, I'm putting the left side of the equation in the parenthesis, so we know that we need to distribute that x plus 1, equal LCD, which is x plus 1, times the right side of the equation, which is negative 1 over x plus 1. Step 4 is solve that equation. So I will say distribute and solve for x. Okay, so I'm going to distribute x plus 1 multiplied by first expression and x plus y multiplied by negative 2. So we're getting x plus 1 times x over x plus 1. So when you multiply by fraction, you multiply the x plus 1 by numerator only, and you copy the denominator. Okay, minus 2 times x plus 1 equal x plus 1 times negative 1. So that will be negative 1 times x plus 1 over denominator, which is x plus 1. Okay. So now again, like you guys see, I'm leaving everything as a product because I can start canceling. You have x plus 1 on the top, x plus 1 on the bottom. So we end up with x. Here I'm going to distribute negative 2 to both. So that will be negative 2x minus 2. It's equal. And I have x plus 1 on the top, x plus 1 on the bottom. That will cancel. And that's equal to negative 1. And now we have nice equation with our fractions to solve. So x minus 2x will give us negative x minus 2. It's equal negative 1. We're going to add 2 to both sides, and we end up with negative x equal 1, and divide each by negative 1. So x is equal negative 1. That's our answer. Oops. Step 5 is check your work. Check your work. And here I want to check your work. Okay. So going back to original, let's just put it here. Originally we had x over x plus 1 minus 2. It's equal negative 1 over x plus 1. So x is equal negative 1, so I plug in a negative 1. So we have negative 1 over negative 1 plus 1 minus 2. It's equal negative 1 over negative 1 plus 1. So it's good that you guys checking your work, because look what happened. We end up with negative 1 over 0. Minus 2, it's equal negative 1 over 0. So we know that something like this, it's undefined. Okay, so that means x equal negative 1 is, we call it the extraneous solution. Which means fake solution. So this problem right here, we don't have a solution. So which will say the solution set is the empty set. So two notation for empty set, you see something like this, or empty set, you can put it that way. So the solution is empty set, that means there is no solution. So what is good to do with rational equations? Again, check guys what happened. Rational equations, that's the one which have fractions. And everybody knows about fractions that your denominator can be equal 0. So I recommended that first, you guys will always give the condition that the denominator is 0. That means in our case, x plus 1 can be 0. That x can be negative 1, which means the denominator, the domain of the equation is all the numbers except x. What just happened? Hold on. Just having issue with them. Except x equal. So the solution could be any number, but not negative 1. In our case, we end up with that negative 1, which, again, it's not the solution. So be careful with that. You may able to solve and get the number, but it's not your answer. So I recommended not to skip step 5. Again, we plug it in, and like you see, we end up with something what is undefined. So we don't have a solution in this problem. Okay. We continue working. Okay, I have example D for you guys. So D, let's solve more. Okay, this is a little more advanced because it has quadratics also. We have negative 8 divided by x squared plus 6x plus 8 plus x over x plus 4 equal 2 over x plus 2. Okay, so let me follow the steps which I gave you at the beginning of this lecture. Step 1, factor all denominators. And find the restricted values. So going back to the previous problem, okay, Um, right here, x equal -1 is a restricted value. Restricted value means x equal -1 cannot be solution. So that's why they want you to find the restricted value, because then you know, like in this case, if I would start with restricted value, I know that x equal -1 cannot be solution. So here x equal -1 extraneous solution, but also we know that this is a restricted value. So restricted value will never be a solution. So step 1, factor all denominators and find restricted values. Okay, so we're going to start with x squared, the first one. X squared plus 6x plus 8. Okay, we need to factor this one, which would be x plus something times x plus something. Okay, so factor using AC method. A is equal 1, B is equal 6, C equal 8. So A times C is equal 8. Find, which by multiplication give you AC, which is 8, and the same two integers by addition, give you, which is 6. So let's see what's going to work. 2 and 4. So we have x plus first integer, which is x plus 2, times x plus 4. Okay, so we factor this denominator. Let's talk about restricted values. Okay, so to find restricted values, solve two equations. X2, which means your first factor, equals 0, and x plus 4 equals 0. So we get x equal -2 and x equal -4. Okay, are restricted values. Okay, are restricted values, which means cannot be solution. Okay, that's what means restricted value. So we factor first denominator, then you have x4. Okay, that's a second denominator. X plus 4 is just x plus 4. Okay, there's nothing which you can factor, so it's just 4. And the last denominator is x plus 2, so there's nothing to factor. X plus 2 is prime, which means you just go. Okay, that was step 1. Step 1 usually takes the most time, okay? And step 3, step 4. Step 2, okay, step 2 is find LCD. I don't know why this is so behind today. Of our denominators. So of x plus 2 times x plus 4, because that's the first denominator which we factor, x plus 4, x plus 2. Okay, so we need to find the LCD. So LCD will be, we take in the first factor, which repeats, which is x plus 2. So we have x plus 2, and we have that x plus 2 times x plus 4, second factor, and that's it. We don't have more factors. And we're just going to leave it that LCD, least comma divisor, in factored form, okay? So don't distribute that. Just keep it that way. Okay, so that's step 2. Step 3 is multiply both sides by LCD. So we multiply both sides, in our case, by x plus 2 times x plus 4. So we have to go back to our original problem. Okay, I'm going to multiply left side by x plus 2 times x plus 4. And originally, the left side was negative 8 over x squared plus 6x plus 8. 6x plus 8, x squared plus 6x plus 8, you're going to rewrite using factors. So x plus 2 times x plus 4. Oh, I'm sorry, not closing yet. Plus x over x plus 4. So in the parenthesis, it's original left side of the equation, equal LCD, which is x plus 2 times x plus 4 times the original right side of the equation, which is 2 over x plus 2. Okay, so that's step 3. Step 4, of course, we're going to simplify and solve it. Solve it. So you have to distribute, okay? Okay. So what we're going to do, we're going to take that LCD right here and multiply by the first fraction and then by the second fraction. So we having, and again, don't FOIL, we're going to have x plus 2 times x plus 4 times negative 8 over x plus 2 times x plus 4 plus, and then x plus 2 times x plus 4, you're going to multiply by x. So x plus 2 times plus 4, multiply that by numerator and copy denominator, which is x plus 4. And on the right side, take that LCD and just multiply by numerator. So I would just put that way, 2 times x plus 2 times x plus 4 over x. And start reducing. If you do that correctly, a lot of stuff will cancel. So I have x plus 2 on the top, x plus 2 on the bottom, x plus 4 on the top, x plus 4 on the bottom. So we end up with negative 8. Here what we can cancel x plus 4. That give us plus x times x plus 2